All right, let's create Homer Simpson. So I'm going to start off by finding a model sheet. I just typed in Homer Simpson model sheet on Google, and I'm going to make this 3/4 position. And I'll go ahead and start by creating his waist first. So let's call this waist. And I have a blue fill color, and let's turn the width up to 3. I'm zooming in with my mouse wheel, holding the space bar to grab and pan the screen around. I'll hit S for shape and select the square tool. And I'm just going to draw where his waist is. And I'm going to start creating styles while I'm creating him so I can change his pants or his shirt color or whatever after I'm done making him. So I'll hit Q, select the shape, we'll go to styles, new, and we'll call this pants color. And let me select it. Let's go under the styles and select pants color and then select the fill, and we're going to turn the opacity down just so we can see the model sheet underneath. So I'm just dragging the bar down here on the opacity, hit OK, and I'm going to hit T so I can grab each point, and I'll go ahead and move the points around. And I'm going to try and keep the points as minimal as possible just because it's easier to animate if you have less points, for me anyway. I'll hit C so I can curve these points out. And by the way, I'm using just a mouse and keyboard. I don't have a drawing tablet. So you guys can do this even if you don't have a tablet. I'll hit A to add another point. And I'm just going to make his waist go all the way up here, like in the middle of his chest, just so when we bend him, he always has his pants underneath his shirt. Like that. That looks good enough. And now we'll create a new vector. We'll call this right leg. And this is his right leg. It's going to be left screen, but right leg, his right leg. And I'll go ahead and hit S. And it's on the square shape tool still, so I'll hit spacebar, move down a little bit, and then I'll go ahead and draw. I'm not going to make joints the way I normally do. I'm just going to draw a solid shape. And we'll use smart bones to bend his legs. I'll hit A, add a new point, hit C to curve it out, hit A, add a new point, C to curve this one out, and bring that point down a little bit. I'll hit A, and I'm gonna snap it to the side of his pants. I'm just making this line across the cuff of his pants. And then I'll hit U, and then on this is Anime Studio Pro 11. On MOHO Pro 12 and 13, go ahead and hit Create Shape. And make sure Stroke is selected because we just want to make that line right there. Like that. And then I'll go ahead and create another shape. Call this right shoe. And we could put this on the same layer as the right leg, but I'm just doing them separate just in case I want to do some other stuff later. I'll hit S. I'll draw the shape, and let's go ahead and hit Q and select it, and then let's take the style off, and then we'll go ahead and change the color fill to gray, leave the stroke as black, and then we'll make a new style, call the shoe color. Then I'll hit A and go ahead and add points to make the shoe. Hit C to curve out the shoe itself. Like that. Hit C, and you can see what keys I'm pressing down by the timeline. And let's put that underneath the leg. Right about there. And then we have our right shoe and right leg. Let's go ahead and select the right shoe and right leg and do duplicate. So we'll rename the duplication of the right leg to left leg. And I'll go ahead and hit Command A. Oops. Hit T first and then Command A, and that selects all of the points. And we'll go ahead and move this over, and you'll notice it goes up a little bit because it's in the background. And then we'll go ahead and double click the right shoe too and name this left shoe. and do the same thing. Go ahead and hit Command A, select all those points, and we'll move this over. And let's make sure, let's select the left shoe and the left leg over here in the layers. Hold Command down and select both of those and drag those to the bottom underneath the waist. So they're behind the waist and the front leg. So now we've got the bottom part of the body. Let's go ahead and turn up the style for the pants so we can see how it's looking. It looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and use the hide edge tool and hide the on the right leg, the top part of that leg right there. And let's go ahead and hide what we've created so far just so we can see the shirt and stuff. So we'll start creating the shirt. On frame 0, I'll go ahead and add a new layer, new vector layer. We'll call this shirt or torso or whatever you want to call it. And I'll hit S, we'll create a new shape. And I always like to start off with a square. That's just the easiest thing to do. We'll draw a little square. I'll hit Q and select the fill because we want to turn that shoe color off and the pants color. They have two styles actually added to it. And then we'll select white for the fill and create a new style. Call this shirt color. And I'll go ahead and go under styles, select shirt color, turn the opacity down, again, just so we can see through the shape, and use the model sheet as a reference. I'll hit A, I'll add a point, drag it down to his belly, hit C and curve that out, hit T, and we'll move the points. Let's hit A and add some more. And I'm gonna make his shirt go up here, down to his collar. And I'm gonna draw his collar separate just so we can put his head inside of the model. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in just a second. And his body curves in to right about there. And hit A, just adding points and then hitting C to curve them out, just so we can get that shape of his chest. Okay. And then we're also going to do the front part of his collar. So I'm going to do a different shape completely. I'll hit S. We'll draw a little rectangle up here. I'll hit T. And this is going to be the back of his collar in the front. So that comes around here, like that. And then I'll do another shape, hit S. And this is the front of his collar. And this, I know this looks weird, but you'll see when I turn up the opacity why I did this. There's this front collar. And now we're going to make a new layer and call this back collar. Back collar. Drag it underneath the shirt so it's behind it. And we'll go ahead and draw a square here. This will be the back part of his collar. To right about there, hit S. And I know this looks extremely confusing, but you'll see here in just a second. And this is the back collar, and I'm actually dragging this and putting it behind his head. This is going to be the part of the collar back here. So it's curved a little bit. This point doesn't matter because a lot of it's going to be hidden. And so I'll go to the styles and turn the shirt color opacity up just for a second so you guys can see. So that's what it actually looks like. And let me come in here real quick. I'll go ahead and grab this and drag it down here. Now the reason I made a front collar and a back collar is because we're going to put the head in between. So let's go ahead and do a new layer and call it head. And I'm going to hit S and draw a shape, just a square. I'll hit Q, select that fill color, and turn off the shirt color style. That we don't want that. And then select yellow for a skin tone. And while we have it selected, we'll go ahead and do a new style. Call this skin color. And you can see now why I did the back collar and the front collar. So I can put this artwork right here. And it's going to be in front and back of that collar. Let's go ahead and make his head shape real quick. I'll hit Q, select that shape. Well, we don't need to select it. We can just go into the styles, select skin color, select the fill, and turn the opacity down. Hit OK. And just like everything else, I'll hit T to start grabbing points and hitting A and clicking on the line to add points, get the general shape of his head and neck. Maybe put a point here, because that's where his neck's gonna bend, is right about here. Then I'll hit C and curve out some points so that rounds out his head, his brow. And it's a really funny looking shape for a head, but the Simpsons are weird looking characters. That looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and do a new layer. Call this ear. And I'm only making this separate just because I might want to do a turn for the character later. Or actually, you know what? If I do a turn, I'll do that at a different time. So let's just put it on the head too. So hit S. I'll draw a little square for the ear. Hit T. Kind of manipulate these points. Hit C and curve them. And as you guys can see, it's pretty easy to, once you get used to drawing with a mouse and keyboard, it's really not that bad at all. In some ways it's faster than drawing with a pen and tablet, or it's probably just because I've done it for so long. But it's really easy. You don't have to spend a whole lot to do artwork in Anime Studio. I'll go ahead and hit A. Now I'm just going to draw his hairline. Hit U. And I'll select that line I just draw, that M, and hit spacebar. And again, if you're on MOHO 12 or 13, you need to hit create shape instead. And I'll do that for his hair on the top of his head. So I'll hit A, and I'm going to go ahead and draw the lines for his hair. And also, I don't want my hair to connect to his head. I want to be able to move it later on maybe. So I'm just drawing off of his head and drawing 3 different points, hitting U, selecting the line, and then this time I'll hit create shape. And that makes that line right there. And I'll hit C and curve this out. Then I'll hit T, and I'm just going to move these into place. This will be that piece of hair. And I have auto weld unchecked, so it's not snapping to his head. And then I'll go ahead and hit T. I'll select that hair. I'll do a Command C, Command V, copy and paste. Move this one over. And move the hair into place. We got that going on. And let's go ahead and create a head group. So this is all of my characters. I usually have my head in one group so I can make a bunch of controls and stuff. So I'll go to make sure I'm on frame 0, create a new bone layer, call it head, and we'll grab the head, drag that in there, and then we'll go ahead and create a new shape. Vector, we'll call this nose. We'll hit S and draw his nose. Just a square. And I'll hit T so I can move these points a little bit. I think I'll make it extend out here. Hit A to add a new point so I can curve out the end of his nose. Bring this in like that. And then I'll use the hide edge tool and hide this edge right here. And I think I'll add another point here just so I can hide the edge and make the nose a little shorter but leave the color coming out this way. Then let's create his mouth, just a temporary mouth. We'll create a bunch of different mouth shapes in a little while. So we'll just call this mouth. And again, we're in the head bone group. You can see all of the mouth, nose, and head are all underneath that bone group. Hit S. Draw a shape, and just like everything else, we're going to change the color. So I'll hit Q, select the shape, deselect the style because we don't want the skin color in that one. We want a different skin tone, and we'll use this light brown. So I'll select that and create a new shape, or a new style I should say. Call this mouth color. And go under styles, select mouth color, turn the opacity down, hit OK. And just like everything else, we'll hit T, start manipulating these points. I'm just grabbing the points, hitting C to curve them out, hitting A to add points. Oops. I'll go ahead and make his mouth go back like that, because I need an opening for when I make his other mouth shapes. Hit A, add some more points like that. Hit C, curve this out, his little muzzle, and curve this out. Looks pretty good. Cool. All right, now let's make his eyes. So I'll do a new vector. I'll call this right eye. And I'm just going to make the eye off of his head for a second. And this is a really easy thing to do. Let's go ahead and hit S for new shape. And this time I am going to use a circle. And I'll go ahead and draw a circle. And we don't want the muzzle color that we just made. So hit Q, select it, turn that off in the style panel. And then we'll select white, and I'll just create a new style, eye color. Okay, and then the easy trick to make a pupil right in the center of the eye is to select the circle, do a Command C and a Command V to copy paste, then hold Option down, and it shrinks right into the center. If you don't hold Option down, it shrinks to one way or the other. We'll just shrink that like that. I'll hit Q, select the pupil, and we'll turn the stroke off, turn the eye color off, and then select black for the fill. And then I'm going to do my usual eye trick, and I'll hit A. I'm going to add a point here on the side of the eye, click to the side, and basically draw kind of a triangle. This is going to be the upper eyelid. Oops, and I need to turn on auto weld. That way it snaps to this point. And I'll go ahead and hit C and curve this point out. I'll select this point on the side of the eye, and I'm going to make it sharp by clicking the left mouse button and dragging to the left, and then curving out the top and bottom to make it a circle again. So we'll curve this back out and curve this side back out. Then we're going to need a bottom eyelid, so I'm going to hit A. I'm going to add a point here, another one here at the bottom, and here on the side. I'll hit C and curve this out like that. And then I'm going to hit U. And we'll select these points, hold shift down so I can select the bottom points of the eye and the side points until it makes a shape. And then we want to do a fill. So we'll select fill, hit spacebar or create shape, and we'll change the style to skin color, just like that. We'll do the same for the top, hold shift down after hitting U, select the top part, and it's ready to go. See the red checkers, so hit spacebar again. That's the skin color. And actually, let me change the eye. I want the eye. Let's select the eye with hit Q and select it, and then turn the stroke off. Then I'm going to make the stroke separate on top of the eyelid. So I'm going to hit U. And you can't do the whole circle, you need to do the top and bottom. So I'm going to select this point, hold shift down, select this point, and then this point, and then select only the stroke, and we'll create a shape that way. So we have a bottom eyelid, or eyelid line, I guess you could say, and then we'll do the same for the top and hit create shape. And then I'll go ahead and shrink this. I'll bring everything in, Bring this point in, this point to the bottom, this point to the side, and down. The reason I'm doing this is so when I grab this, you can see it turns yellow underneath, so there's an actual eyelid. So we'll grab that. So now we have an eye, and I'll hit G. I'll grab the entire eye, hit T and move it into place and shrink it down till it's about the right size. About like that. And I'll just, with the right eye layer selected, I'll duplicate it, call it left eye. Move that over into place. And let's make sure the left eye is under the nose in the right place, like that. And then the nose should be above the mouth. There we go. And let me make sure it's in the right about there. We can adjust this later too. I just want to make sure I have all that. So now we have Homer's head. And because we put it all underneath the head bone layer, that's all one item. So I can actually grab that and move just the head around. Okay, now let's make the arms. Let's turn everything off for a second. Turn the shirt off. All right, and let's go ahead and create a new layer, vector layer. We'll call this right arm. I hit S, select the square. We'll go ahead and grab or make the sleeve, upper sleeve. Hit Q and select it and make sure that we have its eye color, which happens to be white also, but we want to make sure that it's the shirt color. So we'll just change that real quick. I'll hit A, add a point, and we'll go ahead and hit C to curve these points out, like that. And then we'll go ahead and hit S. We're going to draw his arm, so we'll draw a square here, hit Q, select the shape, change the style to skin color, so it'll turn it yellow. And the Simpsons don't really have a wrist, they just have big tubular arms and then hot dog fingers. So we'll just leave it like that. And instead of making joints again, I'm just gonna do a smart bone action. So I'm just gonna hit S, or A, I'm sorry, and I put 2 points where the elbow joints are, the front and back of the elbow, and just drag a line across here, and we'll just connect it. We won't fill it or anything, and we'll just create a smart bone action here in just a minute. Add a point here, curve this out. His arm's gonna go behind that sleeve, but draw it as if you were picturing it with no sleeves. So we got that. We'll add a point to the end of his hand or his arm, and this will be his wrist, I guess, or his palm, but it's just going to be like I said, a tube or a stub or whatever. And then we'll get more detailed with his fingers, but for now let's go ahead and just draw some fingers just so we have a reference. I just drew a new square by hitting S, oops, hitting A or T to move points, A to add some points, hit C to curve them out. There's his thumb, curve that out. That's gonna go behind. No, it'll be right there. Let's go ahead and hide the edge here. Then I'll hit S again and add another finger. Hit T, move some points. Hit A, add some more. And kind of curve this out here. Whoop. There's one finger. Make it extend into the hand a little bit. So it's got a little hot dog finger. We'll hide the edges of that one. points. I'll just select this finger, do a Command C, Command V to copy paste. Kind of put it in place. Move these points. And copy paste one more finger. Maybe it should go behind his arm. But we'll just leave it like that for now. So we have his arm and his fingers. And let's curve this out. Now we have the right arm. Let's just hit duplicate. So we have the left arm. I'll hit Command A. Grab everything. Hit T. Move it over to where his shoulder is. Looks like it's right about there. Let's flip it too. I'm just trying to line up his shoulders kind of where they're supposed to be. The back shoulder's a little bit up because it's a little farther away. And I'll hit G. I'm just going to grab these fingers and points and stuff and move his hand this way. Maybe rotate them. His fingers don't look right. I'm going to undo everything. I'm not going to flip it. I'm just going to leave it the way it is for now. Like that. Move this into place, kind of. Like that. Hit G. I'll just grab his arm, rotate it, kind of get it into position. Maybe we'll just grab his fingers and make them go this way, kind of. Again, we can fine-tune this later. I want to get the basic structure of him down real quick. But we have fingers. They're a little wonky, but that's okay. So now we have his arms. And I think that's all of his body parts. So let's go ahead and turn up the style for his shirt. Select that, select the fill, turn that all the way up, hit OK, select the skin color, select the fill and turn that up. And then we need to move the sleeves up to the top, so hit Q. And with the arm selected, once you select it, turns checkered, we'll go to Draw, Raise Shape to Front, and that'll pop it up front. Go to the right arm, do the same thing, select the sleeve, Draw, Raise Shape to Front, like that. Let's turn everything on. Where's his head? Oh, turn all that on. Make sure everything's stacked in the correct order, so his right arm should be at the very top, so above the shirt and everything else. So there's that. Then his left arm should be at the very bottom because it's the furthest thing away. Now he's looking more normal. And oh, I forgot to turn his mouth color up, so select mouth color, select the fill, turn that up, and now we have his mouth and everything looks good. So before I end part one, let's go ahead and rig him really fast, just, you know, quick and dirty, not perfect, but we'll create a new bone layer. Call this Homer Simpson. Drag this up to the very top. Then we'll select the right arm, hold shift down, select everything, drag that into the Homer Simpson bone layer. And let's start rigging him a little bit. So with the bone layer selected, I'm going to hit A. And now when you're in a bone layer, A becomes add bone instead of add point. So we're going to draw his waist bone right here, so where he can pivot. And then we'll go ahead, with that selected still, we'll go ahead and drag and drop a bone down his right leg, down to almost the center, down to his ankle-ish. And then we'll go ahead and draw a bone from his heel. Or actually, this is where his ankle is, right here, and then another bone for his toes. Just so we can wiggle his toes a little bit if we want. Then I'm going to hit B, and go back up and select the waist bone, and that's really important because it needs to start from the waist bone. We'll start a little bit higher up, draw halfway down, draw this down to the end of his pants, and let's hide his leg, right leg for a second, and his right shoe. And with that red bone selected that's going down towards the end of his pants, we'll go from his ankle and then make a bone for his toes also. So if I hit P, you can see how stuff is parented. The toes go to this bone and all the way up to the waist bone. Same with this side. And that's what you want to have in order for this to work. I'll go ahead and hit Command A. You hit the bone strength because we're using point binding, so we'll go ahead and left click and drag to the left, and that just turns the bone strength off. Turn the artwork back on for just a second, and let's go ahead and rig the bottom half of him. So I'll hit B, select the waist bone, and then we'll select the waist layer, and I'm just going to do a Command A and select all the points for his waist, and hit bind points and bind points. And then we're going to go to his right leg, and I'm going to hit B, select the top bone, and I'm just going to select everything. So I can hit G and select the entire leg, or I can just hit Command A and that selects all the points. And ooh, I need to put more points in here for his knees. So let's put a point right here and right here. Hit A, go ahead and draw this line across, and you'll see why we do that here in a second. I'm just lining up the line to where the bones connect, right there. So they're in between. And let's hit B. And like I said, hit A, and we'll select everything. And I'm binding everything to this bone. So I hit bind points, and if I hit Z, you can see it connects everything to the bone. Now we're going to override the bottom part. So I'm going to hit B, select this bottom bone, then I'll hit G and just grab the bottom points and hit bind points and hit Z just so I can test it, and it's all good. The reason I do Command All and bind and override is just in case we miss a point. We just want to make sure everything's at least bound. So now we'll go to, we'll hit B again, we'll select the bone for the shoe, select the right shoe layer, hit Command A, so it selects the entire shoe, hit bind points, and again if I hit Z, it's going to move just the shoe. But now we'll override the tip of his shoe. So I'll hit B, select this bone, hit G, and let's grab maybe just that front point and hit bind. And let's see. Yeah, so we can wiggle just his toe. That actually looks pretty good. And we'll fix this so his foot's not just coming off a little later, but get the gist of it. Do the same thing with the back leg. So we'll go to hit B, make sure you're on the bone layer, select it, top left leg, then we'll select left leg. Ooh, and that's not in a good position, so let's go ahead. The middle should be right here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the bone layer, select this top bone and move it over. Should be right about there. And then left leg, let's go ahead and add points for the knee bend. And I'm just putting that line kind of right there where the bones touch. I think I need to move it over just a little bit more. Right about there. I'm gonna hide the right leg for a second. And right there. There we go. Then we're gonna do the same exact thing as we did with the right leg. I'll hit B, Make sure that's selected. Select left leg. Command A to select all of the points, or hit G and drag over everything. Bind points. Hit B, select the lower bone. Hit G and just select the bottom part of the leg so we can override. Hit bind points. Hit Z to test it out. Yep, that looks good. Hit B. Select the shoe bone. Select left shoe. It's already selected, but we'll go ahead and hit Command A just to make sure. Hit bind points, and then bind points up here. And then we'll hit B, select the toe. Hit G, grab this point and bind that. So now we got that working. Got the toe going on there. And turn that on. Okay, so we're going to use smart bone actions instead of joints to alter his or to bend his legs. So I'm going to hit B and I'm going to select the bottom bone of his right leg. I'll just call this BR. So bottom right leg, BRL. And you can name it whatever you want. It's just easy to remember. So I'll call it BRL. I'm going to go make sure I select the bone layer because it needs to be a bone layer action. Go to Window, Actions, click Smart Bones, this tab right here, and then click New. And we'll call this BRL. Hit Return. And if it's able to make a smart bone action, it should turn blue down here. If it's pink or blank, then you did it wrong. You have to name it exactly what you name the bone. So first thing we'll do is hit T, and I'm going to rotate it back 90 degrees, maybe even a little bit more. We'll just rotate it to right about there. That's probably the most extreme position you're going to have this leg. And then we'll go ahead and select the right leg. And all we're going to do is change the artwork. So we're just going to hit T and move this over. Hit C to curve this out so we make a knee. And then we're going to go ahead and move this point. This is why we drew that line. And move this point over here, really close to his ankle. And let me curve this out a little more. And we're doing this all on frame 1. And then we'll double click back into the timeline. And let's test it out. Hit Z and bend his leg backwards. Oh, with the bone layer selected. And now we got a nice little bend here. And you can adjust the action. Go back in there and play with it to make sure it looks right. Right leg. Maybe bring that knee up a little bit more. Okay. And I'm also going to put a bone constraint on this bone just because I'm going to keep him in the 3/4 position for a while. So I'm going to hit B and select it, and then hit bone constraints, and then click angle constraints. And you can see these little lines right here. So we're going to click on this first one, and we're going to crank this up to about where we had it bent. So let's do -115 or something like that. You can see where that line points. That's as far as it'll go there. And then for the front bend, we're going to turn this all the way down to 0. So you can't bend that forward anymore. So I'll go into the bone layer. If I hit Z, you can see now I cannot bend the leg. I can only bend it backwards. Do I want his leg? I think I might want his leg above his shirt. Right leg above shirt. There. Yeah. Because we want it like that. Then we'll do the same for the other leg. Hit B. Select the bottom left bone. And we'll go ahead and rename it. Bottom left. Or wait, what do we call that? What do we call this one? Bottom right leg. Bottom left leg. So bottom left leg. BLL. And with it selected, make sure you go back over here and select the bone layer, smart bones, and new action, BLL. And it did it correctly, so it turned blue. Actually, let me go back I'll show you if I typed it in wrong. So let's do new action and call it BLL. And it's lowercase on accident. So I hit OK. Nothing happens. There's nothing down here because I typed it in wrong. So we need to do action. Make sure you name it exactly what the bone is. BLL, all caps, or whatever you named it. And we're on frame 1, so we'll go ahead and hit T. Let's turn the right leg off for a second, and the right shoe. Put the right shoe up here. And then hit T, so we can, oh no. Hit T on the bone layer. Let's bend it all the way back, about that far. Doing the same exact thing, going under the left leg. I'll grab this point and hit C, curve this out, move this point way over here. And that should be good. Double click back into the timeline. And the bone's still selected, so I'll hit B. Make sure I go on the layer and hit bone layer and hit B. Bone constraints, -115, just like the other leg, and 0 for the other one. And we'll turn that other leg on real quick. Hit Z, test this out so it does bend forward. This one's not as good. I think I need to change the this point right here. Doesn't look great. This one looks a lot better, I think. But that's fine for now. We'll just leave it like that because we're gonna finish rigging him. Let's turn off the model sheet too. Okay, so now let's rig the top part of him. So I'll hit B, select the waist, and now I'm gonna hit A to add a new bone. Now we're gonna draw in the middle of his shirt. We'll drag up to the chest, and then we'll draw another one to his neck. And I think I'm gonna do a bone right about here where his neck's gonna bend. It's not connected directly. I mean, it is connected. If I hit P, you can see they're all linked together properly. But then I'll hit B. I'm gonna select the chest bone because these are gonna be, you're gonna link the arms to this one. So I'll hit A. Draw down to about the elbow, then down to the palm. And we'll worry about the fingers and stuff later. And hit B. Select the chest bone. Let's hide his shirt, so we'll just hide that for a second. Let's hide his waist too, just so it's easier to see. Waist, head, collar, all that stuff. And then we'll hit A. Add a bone here, down to where the elbow should be, and then down to his palm. I'll hit Command A. Selects all the bones. We're gonna turn down the bone strength again because that can mess things up if you're doing point binding. Turn those down, and let's go ahead and rig the arms real quick. And go to right arm. I'll hit B. Select just this top bone. And just like the legs, I'm going to hit G and select all the points just to make sure everything's bound. And hit bind points, bind points. If I hit Z, and you can see everything's bound to this bone, but we'll go ahead and override. So I'll hit B. And I did a good job of placing this line because it's right where the bone is. So we'll hit B, select that, hit G. Select all of the bottom points, including his fingers, and bind those. Now we can test it to see if it grabs just that. It's good. And we'll do the same for the other side. Hit B. Select the upper left arm. Select the left arm artwork. And hit Command A. Again, you can do G and select everything, or just do Command A. Selects all the points. Bind points and hit T. I'm just going to move this line, where the elbow line, kind of where the bones are intersecting. I'll hit B, select this bottom bone, hit G, drag over those bottom points and bind those as well. And let's go ahead and do smart bone action really quick. I'll hit B for the front, the right arm. We'll rename this bottom right arm, so bra. And let's make sure we select the bone layer, smart bones. And this is a problem that you will probably come up across a lot, is you'll have the artwork selected instead of the bone layer. Remember to always have the artwork, or I mean always have the bone layer selected when you're creating an action. So we have that. New action, bra. I'll hit T. I'll rotate it forward. Right about there. Grab the right arm. Hit T, and we'll just move these points real quick. So there's his elbow bend. Double click. And in case we want to make his arm bend the other way for some reason, we'll go ahead and do another action. Select this bone layer. New bone or action. Type in bra space 2. So now we can create another action with it going the other way. So I'll hit T and rotate it this way. Select the right arm. Grab the points. And just adjust those a little bit. And you can always come back and fix them to whatever you like. But now, if I'm in there, now I can grab this arm and bend it left or right. Pretty easy. And it looks fairly decent. It's a little wonky right there, but it's totally fine for what you're doing. Maybe. And let's do the other arm. Hit B. We'll select it, call this bottom left arm. So blah. And we'll do the same thing. Bone layer, smart bones, new action, blah. Hit T, rotate this forward. Select the left arm, hit T, grab these points. Like that. Double click. Select the bone layer, new action, blah, space 2, hit T, rotate it backwards, select the left arm, artwork, and come in and move these points. All right, let's turn everything back on for a second. Let's go into the bones. So now we have this arm rigged. It's got a little bend to it. His fingers are, I think they're backwards, but whatever. Looks cool. And that bend's okay. A little off. But now we need to bind his body. So let's go ahead and select, or hit B. Select his lower shirt bone. And then select shirt. And just like everything else, I like to override, make sure everything's bound. So Command A selects all the points and bind points and bind points. Let's go ahead and do that with the back collar as well. Since this bone's selected, select back collar, Command A, and bind points. So if I hit Z and grab it, now you can see his shirt is totally connected to just that bone. But we want a little bit more movement up top, so we'll go ahead and override. I'll hit B. Select the top part of his chest bone. Select shirt again. Hit G, and I'm just going to drag over just the top part. Just those points up there. I think, yeah. Bind that. And the back collar, all of that would be on there too, so do Command A. And override that. So now if I hit Z, That grabs that, but I can also move his upper body a little bit. Get a little dance going. And now since my head is separated, it's all one group, we'll just go ahead and bind this to his upper body as well. So we'll click head, and this time we're going to use this tool. It's called the bind layer tool. And then select that upper chest bone, and it should turn bright red just like that. So now if I go into the main bone layer and hit Z, now his head moves. He can lean back or forward. His arms are rigged correctly. His legs are rigged correctly. And obviously we need to do a little bit more fixing. You know, his leg rotates and it goes, it's not quite right down here. It doesn't curve to his butt. But it's pretty good. So let's go ahead and make a walk cycle real quick. I'll go to frame 2. Let's pose him. Front leg back, front arm forward, and vice versa. I'll do Command A, Command F, freeze frame, go to frame 24, freeze frame again because we want the exact same pose for the first and last. Go to frame 12, hit Z. Make the arms and legs go the other way. Maybe make him lean back just a little bit. Hit Command A, Command F, freeze frame those. Go to frame 6. And his front leg's going forward first, so we're going to bend it. And make sure his other leg is straight down. Bend his front arm as well. Command A, Command F. Go to 18. Bend his back leg this time and his back arm. Command A, Command F. Oops, let's move that middle keyframe. Alright, we've got a walk cycle. I'll do select these last keyframes, right click, cycle. Come up here, just click into this window, and I'm using my mouse wheel and just going down to 22. We're not going back to 21 because we don't want to have this frame and this frame repeat itself. So it's going to go, it's just going to walk normal. And you can change these keyframes right here to linear. That just makes it smoother. Even though this says smooth, it's kind of, this keeps it at even pace. And then also we can grab the whole character using the layer transform tool. We'll go to frame 2, or 1, I'm sorry. Click on him so it creates a keyframe for his position. Go to 6. So when he's stepping, he goes down a little bit, so I'm going to drag him down. I'm holding shift so he doesn't move left or right. And then I'll copy those 2 frames I just made, the up and down. Command C, go to 12, Command V, paste, and then go to 24 and paste again. I'll select that last keyframe, delete it. Make sure this one's aligned with the 18th frame. I'll right click and do cycle. Again, we're going to go to 22 instead of 23. I meant to say 23 before, not 21. And now we have the up and down motion. There we go. So far so good. We haven't rigged his face yet or done anything, but I think that's long enough for sure for the first part of this tutorial. And as a bonus, because we did all of that style creation at the beginning, I can go to frame 1 and go to my styles, and if I want to change Homer Simpson's skin color, and come over here, automatically just change his skin tone. If I select his mouth, let's make it have a gray beard. I can go change his shirt color. Oops. And like that. Change his pants. Even though they're on different layers, because we were applying those styles as we created it, we can automatically change all of the colors at the same time. So I can make him have black pants, and then since you can't see the lines, we'll go ahead and hit shift and change the outline for his pants. So we can actually change that to gray so we can see him. Go to his shoe color. Yeah, I'll give him some dark brown shoes. Change this just like that. So yeah, you can recolor. You can do all kinds of stuff, man. We can change, make new hair styles for him. So, like, check this out. If I go under the head, I'm gonna create a new layer real quick. Sorry, I'm making this super long, but we'll put this over his head. We'll call his hair. Let's go in here. I'm gonna hit S, create a new shape. Now, because we have the head bound to that chest bone, we don't have to redo any rigging for the hair. It's gonna move just fine along with the let's say that looks more like a baseball cap, but yeah, you could do that. Let's make it a baseball cap instead, just because it's a lot easier. Let's make it red too. Let's do the same as this shirt. There you go. So you see I didn't do any binding or anything, but when he's walking, it's already attached to his head. So it's ready to go. So I hope you guys enjoyed the first part of this, how to make Homer Simpson in Anime Studio or MOHO. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and let me know if you want to see part 2. Yeah, just let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.